In the quiet corridors of Buckingham Palace and the manicured grounds of Bagshot Park, a subtle but profound revolution is underway, one that involves two of the least-known members of the House of Windsor, Lady Louise Windsor, 21, and her brother James, Earl of Wessex, 17. These are the only grandchildren of the late Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip who have been deliberately, almost surgically, prepared for lives that may never include full-time royal duty. According to one of Britain's most respected royal biographers, the children of Prince Edward and Sophie, Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, are being handed something extraordinarily rare in the history of the monarchy: genuine choice. The revelation comes from Sean Smith, author of the newly released biography Saving the Royal Family, Sophie, Edinburgh, and the Modern Monarchy. In a recent GB News interview, Smith stated with confidence that neither Louise nor James will face the kind of institutional pressure their cousins have experienced to become working royals. Far from being an accidental outcome of a slimmed-down monarchy under King Charles III, this is presented as a long-term, intentional strategy crafted by their parents, one that began the moment they were born and has been carefully nurtured ever since. Lady Louise, now in her final year reading English literature at the University of St. Andrews, the very university where the Prince and Princess of Wales first met, is on the cusp of adulthood. Her younger brother James, having inherited the subsidiary title Earl of Wessex in 2023 when his father became Duke of Edinburgh, is in his penultimate year at Radley College. Both have been educated at top institutions, encouraged to pursue individual passions, and, crucially, kept at a deliberate distance from the relentless glare that has defined so much of modern royal life. This approach stands in marked contrast to previous generations. For centuries, birth into the royal family, however far down the line of succession, carried an almost inescapable expectation of service. Younger sons and daughters of monarchs were required to attend ribbon cuttings, state banquets, and overseas tours, often whether they wished to or not. Princess Margaret, the late Queen's younger sister, spent her life performing thousands of engagements despite personal heartache and the knowledge that she would never wear the crown. Even in the late 20th century, the idea that a monarch's grandchild might simply opt out was unthinkable, yet precedents have been set in recent decades. Princess and famously declined princely titles for her children Peter Phillips and Zara Tindall, insisting they grow up as private citizens. The decision, radical in the 1970s and 1980s, is now widely regarded as a success. Both have forged independent careers, Zara as an Olympic medalist and Peter in sports management, while remaining on warm terms with the family and occasionally supporting royal causes. Prince Andrew's daughters, Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie, occupy a more ambiguous middle ground, titled, occasionally deployed as counselors of state, yet primarily pursuing professional lives in the art world and finance. Edward and Sophie have taken a different route again. Although their children are entitled, through the male line from George V's 1917 letters patent, to the style of Prince and Princess, the couple chose at birth to style them instead as the children of an Earl, Lady Louise Windsor and Viscount Severn, now Earl of Wessex. It was a compromise that acknowledged royal blood without imposing the full weight of HRH status and all that traditionally follows it. Lady Louise's life offers glimpses of how this hybrid identity can work. She trained with the Army Reserve, reaching the rank of officer cadet, and has taken up her late grandfather Prince Philip's beloved carriage-driving with evident passion, competing at championship level while driving the very ponies and carriages he once used. These are not the actions of someone rejecting responsibility outright, but rather of a young woman engaging with her heritage on her own terms. James, still at school, has been seen far less, but is reportedly academic, sporty, and entirely typical of any 17-year-old public school boy. The public response has been overwhelmingly supportive, particularly among younger Britons who increasingly view lifelong compulsory service as an outdated concept. Social media is filled with admiration for Edward and Sophie's parenting. They've given their children the one thing William and Harry never had: permission to choose, wrote one widely liked commenter. Even traditionally pro-monarchy newspapers have largely applauded the move, with columnists praising it as both compassionate and pragmatic. Yet questions remain, and some are uncomfortable. King Charles's vision of a streamlined monarchy depends on fewer working royals carrying out more focused duties. Currently, the core team consists of just 7 senior figures: the King and Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, and Princess Anne. Within 15 years, age will thin those ranks further. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are being raised unmistakably for service, but they're still children. If Louise and James step away entirely, as now seems likely, who will fill the gap? Critics, particularly from the more traditionalist wing of royal commentary, worry about precedent and perception. If being royal becomes optional, does the institution lose its very purpose? Taxpayers who fund the sovereign grant, however indirectly, may ask why individuals can enjoy the privileges of birth, elite education, security when required, and lifelong association with one of the world's most famous families, without the corresponding obligations. Republican voices have already begun framing Louise and James as the lucky winners of a genetic lottery who get to keep the prize while rejecting the duty. There are practical implications, too. Hundreds of charities rely on royal patronage for prestige and fundraising. A smaller working family will inevitably mean hard choices about which causes retain a royal champion. The pool of available counselors of state, currently depleted by Harry's exile to California and Andrew's disgrace, could shrink further if more young royals choose private lives. Parliament may eventually need to revisit the Regency Acts, and then there is the human element within the family itself. Will Princess Charlotte, watching her cousin Louise graduate and choose her own career, one day wonder why she cannot do the same? The spare has historically borne a heavy burden. Harry's very public unhappiness is the most extreme recent example. A precedent that allows graceful exit for minor royals may make it harder to insist on lifelong service for those slightly closer to the throne for now, though the mood around Louise and James is one of quiet celebration. As Lady Louise prepares to leave St. Andrews, speculation about her future is gentle rather than intrusive. Perhaps a commission in the army, perhaps a career linked to literature or the arts, perhaps something in the equestrian world. Whatever she chooses, the sense is that the decision will be hers alone. In allowing their children this freedom, Edward and Sophie have arguably done something both deeply traditional and radically modern. They have honored the late Queen's wish that her family be happy above all else, while simultaneously future-proofing the institution she spent 70 years protecting. Whether this model can, or should, be extended to future generations remains one of the most fascinating open questions in the evolving story of the British monarchy. For the first time in centuries, 2 young people born with Windsor blood running through their veins are being told, gently but firmly, you do not have to serve unless you wish to. In an age of inherited privilege under constant scrutiny, that may be the most revolutionary statement the royal family has ever made.